Saul, a devout Pharisee in his 30s, stood in the temple courts, passionately defending the law with fiery conviction. Stephen, full of the Spirit, spoke with boldness. Saul watched from behind, arms crossed, listening with silent judgment. Outside the city, stones flew. Stephen fell to the ground in pain. Saul stood nearby, holding cloaks, nodding in approval. With authority and zeal, Saul led soldiers through Jerusalem, dragging Christians away, their faces filled with fear. The high priest handed Saul official letters. With determination in his eyes, Saul prepared to hunt down believers in Damascus. Riding a horse under the hot sun, Saul journeyed to Damascus, his heart burning with pride and purpose, Roman guards beside him. Suddenly, a blinding light from heaven struck him down. Saul fell from his horse, gasping in terror as the light surrounded him. On the ground, Saul shielded his face as a voice called, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" The world fell silent. Trembling, Saul stood up, but his eyes saw nothing. His companions helped him walk, guiding him gently toward Damascus. In a small home, Ananias, a humble believer, prayed quietly. Then God's voice called him to go to Saul. Afraid, Ananias replied, "Lord, I've heard of this man's cruelty." His voice shook with fear, but the Lord answered with peace, "Go, for he is my chosen instrument." A warm light filled the room. Ananias obeyed. He entered the house and saw Saul waiting, blind and silent. Gently, he laid a hand on Saul's shoulder. "Brother Saul," Ananias said softly. And in that moment, Saul's sight returned. Something like scales fell from his eyes. Overwhelmed, Saul knelt beside Ananias and was baptized in water. The past began to wash away. Clothed in fresh garments, Saul was welcomed by believers with cautious hope and growing warmth. Standing in the synagogue of Damascus, Saul boldly proclaimed Jesus as the Son of God. Listeners were stunned. Some believed Saul had changed, but others plotted in shadows, whispering of murder as hatred brewed. One night, faithful believers lowered Saul in a basket through the city wall, risking all to save him. Arriving in Jerusalem, Saul faced suspicion. Believers were afraid, uncertain if his change was true. Barnabas, full of courage, placed a hand on Saul's shoulder and introduced him to the apostles. Peter and John listened intently as Saul testified, hearts slowly softening with each word. Now at peace, Saul walked the streets of Jerusalem, dressed in white, children curiously watching the once feared man. He preached boldly in the city, proclaiming the risen Christ. Crowds gathered, some in awe, others in rage. The religious leaders conspired again, whispering their fury and pointing Saul out from a distance. Once more, Saul escaped by night, hidden by fellow believers as he slipped down narrow alleys. Alone on a rooftop under the stars, Saul prayed, surrendering fully to the call of his Savior. By candlelight, Saul wrote with focus and passion, recording words of grace, truth, and the gospel he now lived. Before his journey, Saul and Barnabas knelt in prayer. A hand-drawn map lay between them on the table. In a new town, Saul preached the gospel. Children sat in front. Elders listened with quiet reverence in the back. In fellowship, believers began calling him Paul, marking a new identity and mission blessed by God. Paul walked through the marketplace greeting Gentiles with joy, his robe light, his eyes full of peace. Imprisoned in a Roman cell, Paul sat calmly with a scroll in hand, moonlight shining through iron bars. Paul penned his final words with peace. His face glowed with hope as heavenly light bathed the room.